Hello students, let us continue our discussion on pollination and fertilization for standard 9 part 3. Here it is, class 9, chapter pollination and fertilization part 3. In this video we will discuss about the structural adaptations, the structural forms that the flowers are having. Those who are taking the advantage of particular kind of agents. You have already followed up the flow chart that I have given in the previous video, different types of cross-pollination, that is entomophily, anemophily, hydrophily and so on. Now we are going to discuss what are the structure of the flowers which is there present, which take the advantage and use the agent properly. First I start with the introductory part, adaptations of the flowers for cross-pollination. According to the type of pollination, flowers are adaptive. In structural aspect, they are having. The adaptation for each category are, we start with number 1, anemophilous flowers. Anemophilous flowers means wind pollinated flowers. Wind is an inanimate object. It is not animal, it is a non-living thing. It flows in its own way. So question of living thing is not there. So to take advantage of that, these are the characteristics which is present in the plant. Number 1, flowers are small. Big size no need, because big size means what? Big size of flowers attract living things, means animals. So it is not an animal agent. So size are very small, almost invisible. Second point, flowers are not brightly colored, often green or dull yellow, because they do not require color. Color is required for those which see it, like animal pollination, zoophily, entomophily, etc. But they do not require any attraction, because wind is inanimate object. It flows in its own way. So flowers do not have bright color. They are often green and dull yellow. That's why they escape our observation. Third point is, flowers are not producing scent and nectar. Same point, same reason. The scent and nectar will be produced for the animals. Since it is wind, so they do not produce it, and hereby they are saving a lot of energy. They do not produce scent and nectar. Fourth point, filaments of the stamens are long and hang out of the flower. Filaments are very long and hang out of the flowers. Why it is so? Because it want to take the slightest of breeze, so that they can take the advantage of that wind out of the flower. Because of this, they take the slightest breeze to take away their pollen grains. Fifth point is, anthers are loosely attached. Very interesting this. Loosely attached to the filaments, so that slightest wind may move them. This kind of attachment is called versatile attachment. Versatile attachment. Versatile attachment is shown in this diagram. See this long filament, and at the point of attachment is here in the middle of the anther, long anther, and due to a little bit of wind, it can sway, it can swing, and because of this movement, the pollen grains are easily taken away by wind. This kind of attachment is called versatile attachment, and this is very helpful for anemophilous flowers. Sixth point is, pollen is produced in very large quantity. Why? Because it is not known when the wind will blow in which direction. Suppose the plants require the wind to blow in a particular direction where the male female flowers are there, other plants are there. But if wind blows in opposite direction, then the whole pollen grain taken by wind will be lost. So because of that, to compensate the loss, they are producing huge number of pollen grains, so that some pollen grain will remain for pollination. So pollen grains produced in large quantity. Number 7, they are very light, dry and smooth, very obvious because they are taken by wind. If they are light, then they will float in air nicely. If they are heavy, they will fall. So they are very light, dry, it should be dry for floating, and smooth. This is another adaptation. Number 8 says, stigmas are feathery or brush type. Feathery or brush type, what happens? They catch the pollen grain floating in the air very quickly and hang out of the flower. The style is very long. The feathery or brush type of stigma hanging out of the flowers so that they can catch the pollen grain which is floating in the air very easily. Pollens from the air. So these are the characteristics of anemophilous flowers. Next we come on to hydrophilous flowers. Hydrophilous means water pollinated flowers. In such cases, the water plants are very specific. All the water plants are not hydrophilous flowers. Do not have. Like lotus. Lotus is not hydrophilous because lotus flowers are blooming above the water level. These plants are having, let us see the characteristics. First point says, plants are mostly dioecious. Dioecious means, you have already studied dioecious meaning last video. Dioecious means a particular plant is either male or female. In case of the water plants, those who take the advantage of water pollination, they are dioecious kind of plants. Second point says, flowers are small and inconspicuous. Same point, same reason is applicable here. What was there in case of anemophilous flowers? Because water is an inanimate object. They are not living things. So they may flow in any direction according to the condition of the water body. So need not have to attract anything. So that's why it is very small, and inconspicuous means almost not catches our eyes. That is inconspicuous, not visible. Not visible, invisible not. It is not catching our eyes quickly. That is inconspicuous. Third point says, do not produce scent and nectar. Same reason, because scent and nectar will be produced for those living things who require it, who are attracted by it. Is water only, so no attraction required. So it's economic and do not produce scent and nectar. Fourth point says, pollen grains are produced in large number, large quantities. Same reason that was there in anemophilous flowers, because water will flow in which direction? Nobody knows. It may flow in a opposite direction what the plants require. Then all the pollen grains are lost. So that's why for compensating the loss, they have to produce huge number of pollen grains. So that's why pollen grains are produced in large quantities. Fifth point is, pollen grains have same specific gravity. Very interesting point this. Interesting because specific gravity of water is one, and this specific gravity should be same. And then what happens? The pollen grain neither sink in the bottom nor float above the surface of water. Suppose specific gravity is less than water, then what would happen? Pollen grains should have been floating above the surface of water. And if it is above the surface of water, birds and other insects may eat them up. And if the specific gravity is more than water, then what would happen? The pollen grains may sink in water. It will not be available for pollination. So that's why it is exactly same as water, so that they just float below the surface of water. So specific gravity to that of water, specific gravity of water and specific gravity of pollen grains are same. Sixth point is, in some cases, male flowers detach and float to reach the female flowers. In case of Vallisneria it happens. Male flowers detach from the plant and float with the water and reach to the female flowers, and hence pollination is done. This is the characteristics of hydrophilous flowers. The third category is entomophilous flowers. Remember, entomophilous flowers are the largest number of flowers available in earth. It is obvious because insects are the largest group of animals that is available in earth. and so many variety of insects are there, automatically their way of activity of life will help the flowers in large way. So that's why entomophilous flowers are maximum in number in our surrounding. In this category, maximum number of zoophilous flowers are there. Other zoophilous flowers are also there, bird pollination, etc. But it is maximum in number. The characteristics are: number one, flowers are large and showy, obviously for attracting insects. Number two, flowers are brightly colored so that they are visible, and by seeing the nice color, insects are attracted. Number three, many of them produce sweet scent and nectar. This scent attracts the insects and nectar is food for them. If they are attracted, they come to the flower. If they do not get food, then they will not turn up in large numbers. So they need to be attracted, need to be given food. So nectar is a sweet juice that produced by plants, and sweet scent is attracting insects. Fourth point says pollen grains are sticky, rough or spiny. Why pollen grains are sticky, rough or spiny? Two purposes. Number one, when it is stuck to the body of the insect, it should stick to there. If they move off from the flowers, if they are dropping into the air and dropping elsewhere, then it will not be able to reach to the stigma. So they should stick to the body of the insects. Because of that, they are sticky, rough and spiny. Second point is, they also, when drop onto the stigma, they should stick there onto the stigma, they should not drop. Because of that also, they are sticky, rough and spiny. Fifth point is, stigma is also sticky. As because the pollen grains are sticky, rough and spiny, the stigma is also very sticky. So that when the pollen grains drop onto them, they do not move and drop off. This is the reason why stigma is sticky. Number 6 point is, smaller flowers, if they are, tend to be in clusters. Some flowers in nature, colorful but size small, and they are individually lacking the visibility with the bigger size of flowers. They have solved it how? They have solved it in a way that the smaller flowers always grow together in the form of a bouquet, so that they are visible from far distance. So when the flowers are small, the smaller flowers tend to remain in clusters. Number 7 says pollen grains are produced in large number, quite reasonably large number, to compensate the loss in transit and being eaten up by the insects. It may happen that the pollen grains are carried by insects. They do not directly go to another flower. They sit on a floor, they sit on a wire, and they rub their body, dropped. It may always happen. So loss in transit, transporting time, it is lost. To compensate the loss. Second thing is, pollen grain is food for some of the insects. If they are collecting hundreds of pollen grains, some of them they are eating up. If they are eaten up, then some at least will reach to the stigma. That's why, to compensate the loss, they produce quite large in number. Quite large in number. So these are the characteristics of entomophilous flowers. These are the main kinds of adaptations of flowers for these kind of things. Other than this, there are two more which is quite interesting, though there are not much characteristics present. Ornithophilous flowers means bird pollination. Bird pollination. Birds are specific type of animal. The flowers are what? Characters are. Flowers are quite big in size, because if they are not big in size, they will not be visible by the bird. So visibility is important. That's why the flowers are big in size. Number 2, flowers produce huge amount of nectar. This can be compared with the entomophilous flowers. Entomophilous flowers produce little amount of nectar. But bird is a bigger size of animal. Their stomach is big. They require lot of food. If they do not get sufficient amount, then they will not be coming in great numbers. So they produce huge amount of nectar which act as food for the birds. Number 3 is flowers are brightly colored, and these bright colors mainly are of red, orange, yellow or combination of them. This is nicely visible by birds because birds' visibility is very short. From a long distance they can see, and bright colors attract them. Flowers do not produce scent. This is a very interesting point to note. Birds' smelling ability is very poor. Birds' smelling ability is very poor, so these flowers do not produce scent. They are producing colors, bright colors, so that they can be seen and they can come to the flower. Example of these flowers are Bignonia canna. The picture is also given. This is the hummingbird. This is the hummingbird. Hummingbird, this is the flower. Hummingbird came to collect the nectar from here, and because of that they are pollinating the flower. And the last one, which is only for interest, it is given there only for interest. There's not many types of flowers are taking the advantage of this. Elephophily, that means elephant pollination. The most important elephant pollination, the flower is Rafflesia. You know that it is the largest flower in the world, and this largest flower in the world is taking the advantage of largest land animal present at present, the elephant. And the characteristics of Elophophilous flowers are this: biggest flower with color, very nice colors they have, though not very bright, but different combination of colors they have. Biggest flower, that general knowledge, this Rafflesia is the biggest flower in the world. Number 2 point, flowers are present at the ground level. Almost in the ground they are forming the flower, so that they are coming close to the legs of the elephants. The flowers may be crushed, but pollen grains attached to their legs and transmitted to the other flowers. And finally, flowers producing very strong smell, and this strong smell of rotten meat. You can say very bad smell they produce, but smell after all. When the smell is there, the animals are attracted. They produce a very strong bad smell, rotten meat, and this attracts the animal, that means elephant in case of this. So these are the adaptations and the mechanism of cross-pollination. In the next video, we will discuss about the fertilization process of the plants. Thank you very much.